so that we'll get a recording of this at the beginning. So welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. The Shared Catalog Fall Member Meeting. We will go ahead and get started. And I have too many monitors. The first thing we need is obviously roll call. Please enter your name and library in the chat box. That's just a lot faster than us individually going through and calling for libraries. But then we also need a minute taker. So does anybody want to take minutes? The video, the meeting will be recorded. So if you're taking minutes, but you're worried you're going to miss something, you can refer to the recording.
I can take minutes, Amy. This is Becky Dupre.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Becky's going to take minutes. So next on the agenda is staff introductions. For those of you who don't know me, I recognize most of the names in joining the room. I am Amy Marchwick. I work for the State Library and the lead system administrator for the Montana Shared Catalog. And the rest of the Shared Catalog team, if you would please introduce yourself, and maybe I will call on us because we did not pick an order. So Melody, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. And I apologize, my camera faces the wall since it's on a shelf, but hopefully you can see my picture in Zoom. My name is Melody Carley. I'm out of Cut Bank, Montana, and I am also a system administrator for the Shared Catalog. It's good to see you guys.
And then yes, Mel, please go ahead.
Hi, Mel Carroll, also system administrator, and I'm based out of Lolo.
And then Kylie, if you would introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kylie McGregor. I'm the MSC trainer and I'm based out of Belgrade as well.
Thank you guys. And we also have an additional system administrator, Laura Tretter. She's based in Helena. She's just not working today, so she isn't in the meeting. And next, yeah. Oh no, that's right. Got my slides out of order. The next thing we need to do is the approve the spring 2024 membership meeting minutes. They were posted in the Aspen meeting. I can pull them up on the screen here. If anybody wants to take a look at them, if we need any corrections, please let us know. Or questions about that. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
This is Nancy and Laurel. I motion that we approve the minutes, the spring minutes.
All right, thank you, Nancy.
And from Hellgate Elementary can second.
All right, so it has been moved and seconded to approve this spring minutes. Any other comments on that?
Mel's name is spelled wrong a couple times, but it's right most of the places.
Oh goodness. Okay, we will fix the name spelling. All right. All in favor of approving the spring 2024 MSC member meetings, please say aye or type aye in the chat.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Stop. Nay. No in the chat. Okay, watching the chat, it looks like that has passed unanimously. So thank you, everybody. All right, so the shared catalog updates. Before I dive into these, I should say, if you have questions, please type in the chat or raise your hand. If you want to ask your question out loud, that's fine. Or you can type in the chat and we'll repeat it for you. So, let's see. We have completely migrated away from the old MSC discuss listserv. We have moved to our Gov Delivery newsletter. We do want to encourage everybody to make sure that you and possibly all of your staff are enrolled, signed up for that newsletter. It's not limited to one person per library. In fact, we encourage and recommend that you have all of your employees on it. We put up things like when there's going to be system outages or if there are problems, we put them on there. We mention different changes in the system for different topics, circulation, cataloging, all the various modules and workflows. So sometimes it's better if all the different people in your library can see it so they can see the things that pertain to them. Mel has just put the link in to sign up for the newsletter. I think it's also posted at the bottom of every newsletter. So if you get a new staff person, you can send them that link and they can sign themselves up. We do also keep an archive of past newsletters in our knowledge base. So if you think, oh, I remember there was a blurb about a change in enterprise, but I can't remember what it said, you can go to that archive, which is linked from the newsletter that comes when we send it, and view past topics. The next thing I wanted to talk about, and we do try to send that, I should say, we do try to send that every other week or so with updates on the system. We have a little did you know link to where we mention things that we've heard from libraries that or maybe they weren't aware of. We highlight KB articles. So it's a good resource even when we're not announcing, anything urgent. The next thing I have on the agenda here is the MSL agency work plan, which I'm going to demo for you in browser. So give me a second while I switch my screen share.
While Emmy's doing that, if you're not looking at chat, you may miss the message, but if you came in late and you didn't put your name and library in the chat, please do that too.
Okay. I think you should all be seeing the state library's front page of their website.
We do.
Great. So there is a thing, and this has been on the website for a few years now, but we've been making some changes. I say Rebecca has been making some fantastic changes in the last few months. So I just wanted to point this out so everybody knew where it is. If you scroll down on the state library's main page, there's this dashboard section, which I encourage you to just check out in general. There's a whole section in programs where it has a bunch of MSC stats, your enterprise usage stats are in there. Very helpful. But the thing I'm going to point out today is the state library's work plan. There's the various versions here. This is part of the we do this to provide information for our commission and for other government agencies, including, LSTA, who is one of our big funding sources. But it also could be useful for the members because there is a MSC, well, it's not really MSC section. The MSC is on here. So if you look at the current fiscal year work plan here, you can see all of the sort of objectives and activities that this is that is through our library services and technology grant from the federal government. But you can choose a project here. These projects don't necessarily say exactly what the name is. The shared catalog is under collection management, but that doesn't say shared catalog. You can also look under responsible and it has the position. So there is here the shared catalog system administrator. You can choose that. And then it will show just ours if you want to do this. And we update these. Rebecca updates this once a month from some tracking spreadsheets that we keep outside of the website. But you can see we have our activities and objectives that have been sort of created for our LST planning that encompass all the things we do. Like here's the one through supporting the members through the help desk. We have facilitate new members joining, configure the Blue Cloud Circ that we want to test. So you can look at all those and track our progress if you're interested in that at all. If there's any questions about that while I switch back to my other screen share, now's the time.
Just a reminder, as people are coming in, please put your name and library in the chat if you haven't already.
All right. So last month, the Toole County Library in Shelby went live with the shared catalog after several years of retro cataloging. They joined, I think it was in 2020, might have been in 2019, and they have been manually recataloging all of their items into our system while still running their library on their old system for that time. And we are delighted that they finally hit the 80% red cataloging thing, and they have gone live in the system. So please, a big welcome to Toole County.
I think they currently are doing a story time hour, so their staff aren't able to attend right now.
Yeah, Thursday is their story time hour. And I just was gonna say, I just had to look it up on the other screen because I couldn't remember. So they recataloged in that time just over 16,000 items. So that is quite the project to be doing while you are also adding new items and running your library. So congratulations to Toole. The BCM2 is Blue Cloud Mobile 2. That is the new version of the mobile app for the shared catalog that's through ServiceNow. What we have right now is sort of the original Blue Cloud Mobile. As everybody probably remembers, last fall that app went down and was down for several months due to some contract issues between ServiceNow, our main vendor, and a third-party vendor that they worked with. And then it came back up, I want to say in March, April. In the meantime, Cersei had been working on creating an in-house version of the app. We will be moving to that app. We're on the waiting list right now to get it scheduled. There will be no new download or reinstall for people who have already installed it. This will just act like an app update and it will get updated. We don't have a date yet for when that will be released, but it does have most of the critical functions in it since it's a new app. It will also, because it's no longer third party, it's going to be managed sort of in the management software that we already have through ServiceNow. So there will no longer be an extra charge for separate templates. I think we have 7 or 8 libraries that have the separate templates so they can have the limited search. There will no longer be an extra charge for that, and we'll have more configuration options than we had in the current version when we move over. So we do have everybody's logos and information, and we will probably get it loaded and be testing it, doing some configuration, and then we will let you all know when it's going to go live. So you'll be ready to answer questions if any of your patrons ask. But like I said, on the patron side, if they already have the app, it should be pretty seamless. They'll notice maybe that it looks different, but they won't have to do anything manual to get the new version. So just to keep you up to date on that. As far as new features and functions, because Cersei was building it there was a question in the chat I will repeat, which says any new features or functions to anticipate with Blue Cloud Mobile 2. And because Cersei was building it from scratch to replace this third-party option, what they were mostly focused on at this point is getting that basic functionality, being able to put your card in, renew your items, place holds, things like that. So correct me if I'm missing anything that I think we should really highlight. I think Mel has been going to those, was as part of their watching as part of their strategic partner as they were working on that.
Yep.
We will do, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Amy. There is one new feature. They included biometrics as a login feature. They're pretty big on that. I believe you can turn it off, but it will be new. If your Apple device has facial recognition, it'll set up so you can open it that way, or if you're using some kind of other biometric. I do believe you can turn it off though.
There's another question that says, will it still be called the Montana Shared Catalog app in the App Store and Google Play? And the answer to that is yes. We'll have the same name, so it will still be the app that they are recognizing. The logo will change. We will be, as we do that upgrade, we're going to be switching to the MSC's version of the state library's new logo. So the logo will change, but the little picture of it will still say MSC on your page of apps or whatever. There's a question curious about what libraries that use it now think of it. It just started rolling out in the past month or so. I have not heard any issues with the new one, unless, Karen, you mean people using our current app think of it. But as far as the new app goes, it's basically brand new. Cersei is trying to move everybody over to it, just to resolve issues that sort of are lingering from the fact that it got shut down and started back up. There's a question about patrons needing to uninstall or reinstall, and that is correct. They do not need to uninstall or reinstall. The app store will just prompt them to update, and it will download the new version to their devices. Any other questions about that? The library configuration assessment, which we talked about at the spring meeting, we were perhaps overly optimistic on how long it would take us to get this spun up as a process. We're just in the final stages of creating the internal process so we can do this consistently through libraries, but that it is on our still a priority for us. So we will be reaching out to libraries to start this. And in case you don't remember what we said about this from the spring meeting, it's going to be, we will look at all your configuration settings and reports, et cetera, that are set up in the system. And then we will get in touch and sort of walk through that with you at your library, see if there's any changes you want to make. We will recommend some changes to match up with our best practices if any of that comes up. So it will take us some time because we're going to be working through every library individually, but we think it'll be good just because this is a very big system, and sometimes there are settings that have been set for a while that you don't remember that that's how your system is running. So that is still in the works. We have not actually launched it yet. And then just some general updates. I guess maybe I just have a couple here. There is going to be, we're in the process of doing an assumed lost and process long overdue sort of consolidation. This mostly applies to public and special libraries, as many of the schools do their assumed loss on a schedule that matches their school year. They don't run them every month or every week like we have everybody else doing it. But the assumed loss process is the process that marks items lost after a certain number of days overdue. And we want every library to be running that. And then the process long overdue, which is named sort of terribly because long overdue should come before lost, but it is the process, we call it the PLO, just to avoid some of that confusion. It is the process that takes those things that have been marked lost for another longer period of time and replaces the bill on the patron's card. It breaks the link between the patron and the item so that you can then remove the item from the system since you're not getting it back. And it puts a note on the patron's card. So we have that set up for most, if not all, of our public and special libraries, some of our academics, and the schools run that, like I said, they run some of those same processes, but just not on a weekly, monthly basis. We are merging on the back end. You won't see any change on your side, really. We are merging over 175 of those processes that run separately for libraries into about 10 processes. So this won't affect your notices, your email notices, your print notices, your date ranges for the most part. Anything you see on your side, your list, where your items go after the PLO, all of that is staying the same. The only thing that's changing is that we're actually freeing up some processing space on the report server. When those run every Tuesday or on the 5th of the month, they take several hours to run right now. And part of that several hours is just each process stopping and then the next process starting. So we're going to be merging those into some consolidated processes. And we think that that will give us a little bit of a buffer if we ever run into some of those issues that we have rarely had, but that have happened where the indexing runs long or the reports run slow and then stuff gets backed up. This will just give us some extra room in that report server. So if those things happen again, they won't affect us quite as long into the day. The one place where you might see changes is you will hear from us if your settings for those processes were set up long before we created the best practices and our sort of options for those. And so if your numbers, your date overdues don't match the ones that we have everybody else can move to consistently, we will be in touch with you to talk to you about switching to the recommended, I think it's 30, 60, and 90 days are your options for the assumed loss, and 90, 120, and 180 days for the PLO, I think. But we do have KB articles about both of those processes if you have questions or are curious about how those work. But like I said, you mostly won't notice a change. And
looks like we have a couple questions in chat, Amy.
yes.
I don't know if you want me to read those to you or if
No,
you'd like to read them.
I'll pull that up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. There is a question, is it still mandatory to designate email in one of the fields for patron overdue email notices, or can this be defaulted per library profile? It is still mandatory, just because there are patrons that you might have their email address, they haven't asked for a email notifications, or if the email bounces back, that field gets reset automatically to review. So it would get overwritten if we didn't have that set. However, if your library, you and Heidi, Sue, you're at a special library. So if every, sort of patron that you have, you do get their email address and you want it to be sent, when you do the new user registration, you could set that field to say email as a default so that as you're creating them, it will be set in there. So if you would like instructions on how to set that user cat 4 to email, go ahead and open a ticket and we can help you with that. I should say, since that came up as a reminder, there is no longer any need to put the capital E in the notify via field. And I think they've mostly hidden the notify via field. So user category 4 is where you designate if a patron wants an email or not. It's not in the extended info anymore. And then there's a second question, jumping back to the library configuration assessment. Will we be scheduling Zoom meetings with each library, or will it be like a drop-in? It's going to be scheduled. Well, we have to pull a fair amount of information out of the system about your library. We'll have a spreadsheet for you. We'll have some things that show what your settings are. So once we pull that, we'll call you or email you and say, when is a good time for you to meet? We'll do a Zoom meeting or a phone call and go over the stuff in our document. And then if you need any changes or want badge changes or configuration changes, we'll work with you on those after the meeting.
Amy, can I add something there?
Yes.
If you notice anything in the meantime that you need, please don't wait for us to schedule this configuration update. If you have anything you need changed or want to review things because they're wrong, you can always put in a ticket and ask us if there's something.
There is another question in the chat about adding a user cat 4 of no contact. I do not think that we have the various like phone, email. I do not think we have anything in there that indicates that they don't want you to contact them. So I think we can add something that has that option.
Amy, we do have a no notice.
No notice. Okay.
That is an option.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying, Elizabeth. You weren't asking for a thing. You were explaining. Yeah, sorry. Misread your question, which wasn't a question. Yes, if you need something in there that's not that for patrons that don't want to be notified, they don't want you to call them, they don't want emails. If you allow that kind of, maybe because they've signed up for text and that's all contact they want, or they check regularly on their app, there is a no notice option in the dropdown. We don't turn it on automatically when we add things. So if you want that, open a ticket and we can go over what's in the user cat 4 with you and see what you would want turned on. I should say, I think we have KB articles that list what's in the various categories for items and users. It may not have an entire list. I think they do mostly, but sometimes it's like this has the cities in it, so don't list all the cities in Montana. But if you're interested or wondering what is in your various drop downs, or if you're not using a drop down and you'd like us to turn it off so there's no possibility of typoing and something in there, just open a ticket for that as well. And that is a good segue into my next little update or reminder I wanted to say is that the best way to reach us is through the ticket system. We're going to have another demo of the ServiceNow ticket system at the end of this meeting, since we just, the beginning of, well, in April-ish, we've completed our transition over, started in April, finished in about June from our old ticket system. So we know there's been some growing pains and learning the new system. So we're going to demo it again. Emails can sit in inboxes if we're out of the office or if we're in meetings or at conferences, but we do monitor the ticket system when we're in those kinds of things. And so that is the best way to reach all of us at once. And because we know it's the new system is a little bit more labor intensive than Zoho was in terms of opening a ticket. If you want to open a test ticket to make sure that your Okta account is signed up and you know how to get there and push all the things, that does not bother us at all. Please feel free to open a test ticket Or if you have a new staff person who's going to need to be opening tickets, have them open a test ticket. They can just say, hi, this is a test ticket. I'm just making sure this works. So that then you need it in an emergency, like your password stopped working and you can't get into workflows. You know, you've already done it once, so it's a little less stressful to do that in the moment. I think that is the last thing I had. So any questions before we move to the next thing on the agenda? There's a question, is there a way to have a drop-down menu in your accounts? I'm assuming this means in Okta, that allows you to navigate among the ticket, knowledge base, ticket, and website without being trapped. I don't think so at this time. That is a fantastic question. Okta is the state's authentication system. It actually logs you into ServiceNow, which is the software product the state is using for this help desk. And what's in that menu is fairly, like when you're in and you can see like the knowledge at the top, if you click on community, or you can see your old tickets, that's statewide, so we don't have a lot of control over it. But I will ask and see if maybe like we could make a page or something just to make it easier to navigate between those things. So that is a great question, and I will see what I can find out. The software is administered by the state IT department, so it's a couple levels of, we have to pass the question up and they look at it. So it takes us a while to get back answers on that and changes if we need it, but we will see what we can find out. The navigation is tricky. We have, well, Kylie will show us some of this, but it's a little more separated than it was when it was all together in Zoho. Any other questions?
Amy, I just want to jump in before Mel gets started to remind folks. I know some of you I've repeated this in chat and out loud, but as we have people coming in, please just remember to put your name and library in the chat. Thank you very much.
All right, so the next thing is going to be the enterprise Boolean search. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I think Mel is going to take over and share her screen.
Yes, I am. Okay. Make sure I have the right one. Sorry, I should have been better prepared.
I find that no matter how many Zoom meetings I am in, whenever I have to share my screen, it's like a panic moment.
It is. You always want to make sure you get the right one. Okay. Hopefully.
We see enterprise, so.
Okay, hold on. I'm thrown off because it's not.
Oh, on your right monitor in front of you.
Okay. Now I lost Zoom. All right.
We
Okay.
see
I'm going to assume this is the right window. I don't think I have any other Chrome windows open. Okay. So the vendor is currently working on building a new online patron catalog. That's not going to be ready for a while now. So in the meantime, what they're doing is they're releasing some kind of fixes to enterprise. And one of them is the advanced search. I don't know if any of you have tried to use Boolean operators in enterprise before, but it doesn't work, or it doesn't work very well. So just to kind of dive right in, let's say that you're looking for books on either cats or dogs. You try and do the Boolean operator in enterprise, and you only get 52 results because, I'm not sure on these top ones, the search is looking for the dog or cat in somewhere in the MARC record. So if you go to advanced search, what you now will see is this Boolean advanced search is going to default over the other advanced search to be more useful. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You have these drop-down fields, a lot of different operators that you can mess around with. I will say that there is one thing that you will have to change in order for it to work, and that is this sort by field. You will have to choose one of these options. I think we're going to have it set so it defaults on title, but still kind of working out the kinks on that right now. So just to kind of give you a little test run, you want to change the first one to dogs, go over here and change the operator to or, and then change that one as well to cats. I'm going to bump this up to 100 and then sort by title. Go ahead and search. And now you'll see that it's pulling from, this is the test server I should add, about 5,000 records, and that should either give you dogs or cats. So it's just another way to search, kind of a better way. I don't know if many of you have used the previous advanced search, but it's quirky and not really how you would assume an advanced search would work. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more flexibility within the catalog to better serve your patrons. They also have down in here some proximity searchers. And if Amy, when you get back to the slideshow, if you just want to jump to that slide real quick, I kind of broke down what the vendor has each for these because I haven't really encountered proximity searches before. So, and then on that, just to let you all know, we will have a knowledge base article coming out probably within the next couple of days, just still kind of working out the kinks and getting everything set up. Additionally, this should be live on your version of Enterprise, but we had a little mishap when we were trying to adjust the language. So if this is on the main MTSC page, you see how it's kind of broken within the banner. I'm working on fixing this. It should be fixed starting tomorrow. What we were trying to do is have it on the regular Boolean, the switch to advanced search here. And we kind of just got the wrong label because it's a little chaotic changing labels in the back end of Enterprise.
Cersei was installing it for us. I think, Mel, if you pull up anybody but our profile, it doesn't have the below in white. It just
yeah, it just kind of breaks it a little bit over.
Yeah, it's
here.
just over to the right where it used to be, and the wording will go back to advanced search, and then it'll be recentered.
Yes, all that'll be fixed. And then when you go into the advanced search, it'll say switch to advanced search here to kind of switch back and forth to give a little bit more info for your patrons.
Mel, I'm not sure if you're watching chat, but there are a couple comments and questions.
I am not. Let me pull that up because dual monitors and Zoom is defeating me this morning.
And I figured before you closed it, just in case it's something you want to look at live, I wanted to make sure.
Okay, let me see. Is it live? Yes, Becky, it is live. And then what happens if we did the search string inside the main search bar, like in parentheses, dog or cat and bird? Is there a truncation option too? I'm not very sure, Heidi Sue. It would be something to play around with, and hopefully I can get back to you after this and have an answer for you. Laura Treader was kind of heading this all up, and unfortunately she couldn't make today's meeting. So I don't know all of the ins and outs of it, but I will figure that out and let you all know. And then was there any more questions? I see Becky's comment, and I'm glad you appreciate that, Becky. I do too. I think that was a great suggestion.
I think just checking it, I'm pretty sure that like the parentheses, if you're on the main page, the main search bar, by that you mean like where Mel is right now, the parentheses are essentially ignored. It still does not treat the or like a Boolean. But if you're in the advanced search, in the Boolean search, and you want to try, my guess would be, since it has the Boolean operators over to the side, that it's going to assume you want those, you need to use those to do your thing. So you could do dog or cat, and then and Bird. I'm not sure if it does the groupings though, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure because these are grayed out. I don't know if it'll let you have that much.
I think you might have to type something in the next box for it to.
No,
Oh,
it
no.
doesn't.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most
It's not
perfect
perfect.
fix,
Yeah.
but hopefully their new online catalog, whenever they are able to release that, will have better flexibility in that sense and act more like you would expect to do in Google.
We did just have one more comment saying that someone is trying it and it's not working.
I did find that if you don't have this sort by option, it won't work. If it's on sort by none, nothing's going to happen. So I would just make sure that you choose one of these sorts. And then if that's still not working, if you just want to open a ticket and kind of give me a screen share of what you're doing, not a screen share, a screenshot, I can troubleshoot from there.
We have a question. Is the new patron catalog the Blue Cloud Discovery?
Yes, that is what they are going to call it. It would be Blue Cloud Discovery.
And that is, I should say, Blue Cloud Discovery. All the Blue Cloud products are included in our current contract with them. So when they do have that ready, I want to say that in the last meeting we heard that they're thinking late
End of
2025.
Yeah, end of 2025. They're going to start a pilot. I think they're going to have a couple of different iterations of a pilot, but their first pilot is going to be in the next couple of months. And then depending on how that goes and how some other things that they're developing goes, they're hopeful for fall, winter 2025. But
yes,
we'll
we had heard testing in this year from them, and they actually they ended up I want to say building a thing from scratch for their Blue Cloud, so it pushed all their dates back. But they have also, Cersei Dynix has also started a new thing that they're calling Blue Cloud Accelerate, where they have basically brought on some extra people to work dedicated on specific projects to kind of accelerate them. So that was one of the ways that they've got their Blue Cloud Mobile 2 out so quickly, because we know that their timeline for new products is not usually a year, and this will be pretty much right within a year for the app. And so they are building some ground up structure for that Blue Cloud Discovery that's going to interact with a bunch of other things, which ended up slowing them down a little. But when they're done with that, the rollout of other new products, I think, will be faster. So.
And then to answer Becky's question, I don't know about the rest of what they're developing, but they are expecting Blue Cloud Discovery to be consortia ready when they release it.
We are a large consortia, so sometimes depending on how the configuration works, it takes us a little extra time to get it ready to roll out. But this one we have heard that it should be ready. Like, we won't have to wait 5 years for important consortia things like only placing the holds on the stuff that your patrons are allowed to place holds on. Mm-hmm. So I am going to steal the screen back from you, Mel, and switch back to my PowerPoint. Feel free to keep asking questions. I'm going to just switch through some except I lost the thing. We had some screenshots just in case we had problems, but these are the proximity operators definitions that Mel mentioned. Same with near and adjacent. This will be in the KB article that we put up about the advanced search. So, and we will link that KB article in our next Gov delivery so that you'll have that direct link. Okay, is this where we're at? Cataloging, oops, how do I go back? Cataloging updates.
All right, thank you. That is for me. So we have a couple different cataloging updates today, and most of these come from our content management committee discussions. So just a reminder that we do have a content management committee that meets a couple times a year to discuss cataloging, but also it can affect how things show in enterprise or how you search for things. So they help us make a lot of the decisions on how things look and are managed in the system. So these are some of the recent topics that that group has discussed. If you have any interest in being part of that committee, or even if you want to sit in on those meetings and you don't want to be like a real quote unquote member of the committee, they are public and open to people attending. So if you have interest in these topics, consider being part of that group. So the first one is French language subject headings. Some of you may have noticed in the past year or two that, I guess mainly the last year, that we have a lot more French subject headings and genre terms in the system. And that is because the National Library of Canada has started being part of OCLC and added a lot of their subject terms. So we're seeing them in our system. And after kind of reviewing the fact that we don't have a lot of French language users, we had originally hid them from enterprise, but they were still in the catalog. But now we've decided that there really are so many of them that we are stripping them out of new bibs, bibliographic records that are coming into the system. So we have changed the bibload settings and the smartport settings. We'll also set, those are the default settings. You may have reset your own settings. So we will send out in the next Gov delivery some directions for how to check your settings to make sure that they also strip out these specific terms, just so not everybody has to see them. If some are still going to be in there, we'll try to take some of them out over time. But if you see them, you can just ignore them. But in future records, we'll hopefully be taking those out. And we have also updated many of the articles in the cataloging and the knowledge base to reflect the fact that we are taking out the French language subject headings. Does anyone have any questions about this update? Don't have any French speakers up in arms. That's good to know. So we can go to the next slide. So this is a fairly large update that you all need to know about, but there will be a lot of guidance coming. So if you are concerned about this, please reach out, but also there will be more information coming. You guys are hopefully all aware, or those of you who do cataloging are aware, that when you currently put in some things into a call number field, it will force in the little bar Z next to it to create part of the record. So you'll see this for things that maybe are, you have 3 volumes or things that have multiple volumes on a set. So in 2025, we will be removing the V period and the names of the months from all of the Dewey classification records. It will no longer force in the bar Z. And the reason we're doing that is because it sometimes causes a lot of problems. For example, if you have someone with the last name May and you put FIC May as the call number, it will think that that is the month of May and try and make it a part of the record, which is not ideal for lots of reasons. We also have a lot of people who put in the volume, even if it's not really part of the record, like it might be, you know, the number 20 of an Ivanovich series, and it's not really part of the overall title. So we are going to be requiring catalogers, they're going to need to put in the bar Z manually, which means you have control over it. You can decide when it's needed or not needed, and we will be able to help you with that. We're going to have some guidance. There will be a knowledge base article, and we'll give you lots of notice for when this change is happening. This is also only for items with a Dewey classification. If you have periodicals and you still want the months to force the bar Z in, to force the call number analytic, you can use Dewey per, which means Dewey periodicals. And if you're at a special library or an academic, you may be using a different classification scheme like Library of Congress or something else. So if you are using a different classification system, this will not affect you. But this should reduce hold errors, especially for our libraries that aren't even in sharing groups, who are sharing records with some of the sharing groups. And there's a lot of confusion when you place holds for some of the patrons because they have to choose a volume, even though one shouldn't even maybe be there. So it will also make it easier. Sometimes you have to have a number sign instead of a volume, and some people definitely don't love having 2 different systems. So you'll be able to choose if you want all your things to say V period or all to say number. You'll still be able to do that now once we make this change. I know there's probably questions on this one. So does anyone have any questions now? But we will have a lot more documentation and help before this starts. Thanks, Beth. Yes, that's a big deal. So we have a question. Can you please tell me briefly what the bar Z will be used for? Only if we choose to make it a numbered volume series? Yes. So for example, if you get the easiest thing to think about, I know it gets really confusing when you talk about manga, you talk about series, but let's say you get a book set that has 3 volumes in the set. The catalog record is for the overall set. So when you look at the bibliographic record, the field that talks about the material will say 3 volumes. But you don't want to use one barcode. Very unlikely is a patron going to want all, they might want 1 volume at a time. So you decide to make the books volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. If you don't put any designation in the call number, they will all look like the same thing. So if a patron is an enterprise and they're trying to place a hold, they will get a random copy. They won't get volume 2 if they want volume 2. So the way to tell the system that you have part of the bibliographic record and not the entire thing is to put the bar Z and then to put something after it so that you know what volume it is, and so the patron, when they're in enterprise, can choose the right volume. It also means that if you're in a sharing group or you have multiple copies of things, they will get one. Even if the other one is checked out, they will get the right volume. So that's when you would use it. But we're going to have a little flow chart so that you can say, do I need a bar Z? And you'll be able to walk through that and know if it's the right thing. And yes, there's probably going to be a little confusion, but we actually think there will be fewer errors by putting it in manually than there would with it being forced in. Like I said, sometimes it's being forced in when people don't want it, and there's no way to get rid of it when that happens because the system automatically forces it in, and that causes issues for everybody. Yes. So for example, right now, if you have, let's say, go back to the Ivanovich series, if you have all, I don't know how many she's up to, 30 of that series, sometimes you want to put all of them as V period, but putting V period means that it will force the analytic. And so you're not allowed. You have to use number sign in the call number right now if you're on number 22, because if you add a V period, it will create a separate a separate option for patrons to choose. So everybody else would have number 22, and when somebody goes to place a hold, they would see all the others or yours separately as V period. Now, since it's not being forced in, you could still put the V period for your Ivanovich. You just wouldn't add the bar and the Z so that your labels will all be consistent. So you'll have the V period. You can decide if you want to add that separate volume designation. And someone says, and this is preferred over having separate bibliographic records for each volume. Tiffany, that is a very great question, and one that will be addressed probably next year because we are involved in a pilot where we are experimenting with the BridgerNet sharing group, separating most of the records out onto different volumes, and we're kind of assessing what the long-term plan is for that. What we tell people in sharing groups is right now is that you want to stay consistent with what your sharing group is using. But we do have a really big mix right now of some things on their own records and split out, and some things sharing records. Part of that is just because OCLC has so many records, and sometimes some are better than others. So people just choose the best record, but we probably will have some recommendations in 2025 about best practices for splitting records, but that's a little premature because we're not there yet. Does that answer your question? And Carly, thank you. Yeah. I spend more time thinking about call number analytics than most people in the world, I'm pretty sure. So. All right. So I think that's it. Unless there are more questions about this, next topic. All right. So we have had some tickets from some of you, and I'm sure many of you have noticed and not said anything, but we do have some identifiers that look like long links being added in some cases to authors, but in some cases to other fields. And these are unique identifiers that are coming from a couple different places. OCLC is one. There are a couple other agencies that are doing this. And what this is a feature of linked data where they're trying to, yep, thank you, Amy. They are trying to make it clear that people are the same authors. So when you go to Amazon and you search for an author, you may find multiple different authors who share a name because they don't have authority control working very well at Amazon. They don't probably employ many librarians. And so you might find someone named Richard Osman who is not the same as this Richard Osman. And so librarians do this better, but we want to make sure people are finding the right person and it's actually identified as the same person. And so these links are part of that process. There is a link there that goes to probably more information than anyone would ever want to know about unique identifiers. So if you follow that link and want to read up on unique identifiers, you can do that. But in the meantime, what this means is there might be a little bit of a mess in the catalog that, yes, we are going to see some of these links. The good news is that they are not an enterprise. And recently we had somebody bring to our attention that some of them were still showing up in the little new book river. We did fix that. So your patrons shouldn't be seeing these links because most of them are just helpful on the back end to help identify. And then as you can see in that bottom example, we do have one that has the link and one that doesn't, and it will take a little while for authority control and updates to kind of merge those together. So yes, you'll see like some Richard Osmans with the link, some without. Over time, we'll see pretty much all the authors move to have a link so that we know that it is the same person. But until that happens, we will see some of these kind of messy in the system. We're sorry, we can't fix them all really easily in batch, but please don't delete them. Please keep them in the catalog. They are there for an important reason. And over time, we will see kind of an improvement in those links. Hopefully, I'm not sure that we'll be able to hide them from the catalog display, but we're very aware of them and we just wanted you to be aware of them too. And I think that's it. Do we have any questions about unique identifiers in the catalog records? All right, good. And go to the next slide.
I did want to say, I think, and maybe I missed this, Melly, Cersei does know about this, and they are working on some options that would give us the ability to change where this displays. So yeah, they're not rolled out yet, but we might have more control.
Yeah. All right. And then finally, Laura Treader, who is not in this meeting, but I want to give her absolutely a ton of credit because she has been working on splitting a lot of our cataloging procedures into more manageable sizes in our knowledge base. So you can see there our cataloging articles far outweigh all the other articles. We have 54 different articles right now in our knowledge base just on cataloging. The cataloging procedures that we had historically, I know some people used to print them out or have them, certain parts of them just please always use the KB when possible or check the articles often because some things may have changed or been updated. And so we do ask that if you are printing out a page that you periodically look back and check the live version so you know you have the most up-to-date information. There's no longer one place to print the entire cataloging procedures. You do need to check the knowledge base to get the more specific article, but hopefully having them in smaller bite-sized things will make it easier for you to search for them and to find the thing that you're looking for without scrolling through a huge new cataloging procedure KB. So also, I just want to say we do know Kylie's going to go over looking in the knowledge base in a few moments. Always just put in a ticket if you're not finding what you need. If you don't know how to do something and you're working on a record, just put in a ticket if you can't find what you're looking for. We will be happy to help you or give you guidance. And in some cases, there may not be an applicable article. So we just want to make sure that we're giving you the information, and we may need to create an article if it's for something that we don't have already. So Heidi Sue, it says, could we put a link out to this inside our workflows? I'm not sure how we would do that. This is,
but that's a fascinating idea. Like,
yeah,
this is a link to the KB from inside workflows.
We'll think on that. I'm not sure how we would do that, but we do suggest that you go to our library services support page to get to all the state library, the ticket system, and all of the KBs. And I'm betting we can get that link into chat, but that is what I suggest that people bookmark is the library services page. And we'll do that shortly. But do we have any other questions about the cataloging updates or about cataloging in general before we move on to the next topic? I guess that's probably too broad of a thing for this meeting. Please don't ask very specific cataloging questions. And Kylie has put the support page in.
I just went and checked, and I think we might have gotten the suppression of the of that unique identifier, because the place where people were noticing it the most was the on-shelf holds wizard, because it made that author field really giant if
Sure.
you were trying to print that. And I just went and checked, and I'm not seeing it anywhere. So I think Laura might have got that implemented.
Yeah, we've been working on ways to, because we did receive some feedback from some of you that it was just confusing, or what are these? Why am I seeing these long links? And so we're definitely aware of them and trying to make it as user-friendly as possible in all the views that we can. At the same time, I think the reason they're in the catalog records is because people at some point may need them because we're using them for authority maintenance and things. So we don't want to get rid of them completely. But yes, we will thank Laura. She has done an incredible job splitting up these articles and trying to make them more user-friendly for you guys. All right, I think that's all of our cataloging updates. And just a reminder again, if you're interested in being part of the CMC or knowing when those meetings are, you can always reach out to us and we will include you. Thank you.
All right, ServiceNow demo. So, oh, Kylie, I bet we need to make you a co-host, or are you on your regular Zoom but separate computer? I will stop sharing so Kylie can take over.
Thank you. Let's see if that. Sorry, one moment. I didn't have this set up to.
I think, like you said, it's just Zoom. Like when you click it up, if you have more than one thing open, it shows you a million things, and then you have to kind of hunt the share screen button to find the right thing to put on the screen.
Can you guys see my the MSL library page?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I just need to move the Zoom screen out of the page here really quick. All right. So, apologies, I'm on my personal laptop, which I don't use for work things. And the reason being is because I can't show you guys what ServiceNow will look like for you from your end from my work computer, because I'm on the state network and it just wants to force me into my work login for ServiceNow, which does not look like what yours looks like. So if you're trying to get to our services support page and you're on the state library website, what you'll do is you'll click the services to libraries heading, and then you will choose library services support. And that will take you to the page that I shared the link to in chat. And if you scroll down a bit, depending on the size of your screen, you may have to scroll. You'll see that we have a few things here. One, you have the option to submit a support request, what we refer to as a ticket. If you haven't already created your Okta account, which is required to submit tickets, then you can choose create an Okta account. And further down, which will be at the end of the demo, we also have links to our knowledge bases. And up here is the Montana Shared Catalog, but you'll also see knowledge bases for Aspen, our statewide directory, the Montana History Portal, and so on. This is similar to in our old ticket system, so that's fairly familiar, we would hope. Okay, so let's say you've already created your Okta account and you want to submit a ticket. I would click this, and here's the page you're going to get. Now you have two options. There's citizen login or state login. You are going to want to click citizen login. The state login is for state employees. That's how I log into the system in order to see your tickets and respond to them. So you will click Citizen Login. And then you will see this login screen. Amy very kindly is letting me use her test account to show you what this looks like. So I'm logging in as Amy, Citizen Amy. And because what we clicked was submitting a ticket, as soon as we log in, we see our ticket form to fill out. And because Amy already has an account, it enters her name and her contact information associated with her account. If the ticket that you're about to submit needs to have additional contacts attached to it, perhaps you're a director and you want another staff person to be aware of this ticket, you can add their email here. You can also add your phone number if you prefer, but that's not necessary. Scrolling further down, we ask that the ticket be set up so that you can see the different support team options before you have to choose one from the dropdown. Now, for our purposes, we're all here for a Montana Shared Catalog meeting. I think you know that you can choose Montana Shared Catalog for tickets for us. But if you're unfamiliar with the other departments that you can choose from, we have a little description up here. I'm just going to choose Montana Shared Catalog. And now we also have categories. Now, one thing to note, there's no necessary right or wrong here. We use these categories to help us get data on our ticket statistics and to help us kind of direct tickets where they need to go. If you enter something that isn't quite the right ticket category, we can update that. Don't worry about it. But for instance, if you're trying the advanced search in Enterprise, the advanced Boolean search, and it's not working for you, you can choose the online patron catalog is what you want to talk to us about. I'm going to say in here that this is a test ticket. And then it's about Boolean searching. And this is where I would enter my description. One thing to note is as you start entering information in your subject field, it's going to come up with potentially helpful articles based on your keywords that you're using. So you'll see we have, oh, here's something about the online catalog enterprise. It's profile options. Once we get more information in our knowledge base about the Boolean search, that article will also show up here as you're typing Boolean search or some related terminology. Now, I'm just typing in a vague description here for my own purposes, but I want to, as you scroll down through all the potential knowledge base options, please note that there's the ability to add attachments. And this is really helpful to us if you have screenshots of the errors that you're running across or things that look a little weird in the system. If you can take a screenshot of that and add that attachment, it'll just prompt you to choose the file and upload it. Please do so. That is very helpful for us. So I'm just going to click submit on this. And I'll take a second. Okay. Now this is a screen you'll get once you submit a ticket. It'll basically just show you what the ticket is. It'll have the short description or the title of it, and it'll let you know, hey, this ticket was created this date and time. Now, if you meant to add more to the ticket, you realize after you submitted it that maybe you have some more information, you can type that here and post it, and it will be added to the ticket, will be notified. This is just the activity page of what's happening with the ticket. If you go to detail, that just shows you what the description is that you put in. I go back to activity. Up here, the 3 bars menu, if you click that, if for some reason you want to save the view of this ticket, you can do that. You can export it. But But just one thing I would want to point out to you guys, the great thing about having an Okta account I know we're running into a lot of issues. However, you are able to view both your open and your closed tickets from your account. And the way that you do that is you can, once you're logged in, go up to My Requests. Might take a moment. More than a moment. Aha, here we go. And you'll see that on Amy's test account here, we have a few open tickets already, including when they were updated. But just know that it defaults to your open requests. However, you can change the view dropdown to view your closed requests as well. I'm not going to do that just to save us time, but you don't lose your tickets once they've been closed. Also, if you have saved any drafts of your tickets, that would show up here under your requests as well. So those are the first few things. Another thing I'd like to show you about logging into Amy's email. I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see my screenshot, Amy?
Sorry, I was muted. I think you might have to switch your
Okay,
share to the
one
picture
moment.
because it's yeah.
Okay, so this is just a screenshot of an email so that I'm not logging into Amy's email account. But this is what your email notification will look like once you open a ticket. And it'll say, okay, your ticket's been created. You can click here to view it. Now that'll be linked. That will take you back to your request page directly to that ticket. And you can, communicate any more information or answer questions that way. You can also respond to the email as well. You don't have to log in to respond. For example, when we reach out to you, perhaps with more questions or with an answer, you will also get an email notification about that. And you can always just respond to that email if that's easier. All right, I'm going to go back to my screen here. Thank you for bearing with me. Are there any questions so far about opening tickets, viewing
You do have
them?
one question in the chat, Kylie.
Okay, would you mind just reading it to me?
Yep. It says, are you able to create a new ticket from the request page, or do you always need to go back to the library services support link on the MSL site?
Thus far, I want to say to the support page.
Yeah, I would
incorrect,
agree. The forms in ServiceNow are sort of all government agencies, and so there's not a great link to jump back to just our form. I think this is what that question earlier today was about, like from this page, she'd like to get to the knowledge base and to the ticket link. And that's the part that this is controlled at a much higher level than our agency. So I'm like, if you click home there, it takes you back to the home for all of ServiceNow. It doesn't take you to our form. So,
right. So it can be easiest if you just bookmark, and I'm just gonna go back to this now because I have it bookmarked. It's easiest if you bookmark the library services support page and just submit a support request each time you have a new one, at least as of right now. If that changes, we will let you guys know. Now onto the knowledge bases. Perhaps you wanted to search the knowledge base first before submitting a ticket. We definitely encourage that. You would go to the support page and you could scroll down if you need to the knowledge bases. And here we have the Montana Shared Catalog. If I click that, give it a moment. Here's the page that I see. Now we chose this view of it because on the left-hand side, and as Melody showed us earlier when she was talking about the cataloging articles, we have our categories. And you can see how many articles are in each category. We also have top rated articles and the most viewed, which no surprise here, we have updating workflows and our new staff landing page, as well as our Gov Delivery newsletter archive if you want to see past issues that we've sent out. And so you can either search from this search bar here, or you can go into a category if you prefer. So if I go into cataloging, it will pull up all our articles marked as cataloging, and you can also search within here. If you want to go back to the home page, I would just use the back arrow. And there you are. Again, if I search the knowledge base here, perhaps I want to look up something about holds. I'm going to type holds and search. Here's what I see. All of these are state shared catalog articles, as you may have noticed. And every time holds appears in an article before you even open it, that is highlighted. So if I wanted to go into an article, it brings me in. Not sure why it didn't take me right to the top of the page, but here's what our articles look like, fairly similar to what you may have seen before. And again, if you want to go back, I would just use this back arrow. One thing to keep in mind is if you are not already logged in to Okta, which I am here as Amy, if you're not already logged in and you go to our homepage, our knowledge base homepage, and you conduct a search like I did, either right after you search or if you try to get into an article from the list of results, you'll be prompted to log in if you haven't already. That was sort of the trade-off with choosing this view for you guys to hop to when you click our knowledge base. This is sort of the logged in view. Now, if you click around enough, or if you want to, pardon me, if you're clicking around enough, kind of using breadcrumbs to get back and forth, you may be taken to a slightly different looking view. The content is the same, and I'll get to that in a moment. But just know that please feel free to log in. You'll be able to keep seeing this view, but you will be prompted if you haven't logged in already. So if you find that kind of jarring, we apologize. This is something we're constantly trying to work with our IT department with to make better for you guys. But I'm going to open another tab here, and I just want to show you the knowledge base view. And again, I am logged in as Amy, but if you're not logged in and you are kind of going back and forth between some breadcrumbs, you may be taken to this main knowledge bases page. And if you scroll down, you'll still see, here's the Montana shared catalog. We have all the articles here, all right? And if you go in this way, it's the same content, but a different display. You still have the power to search. The search bar is smaller. It's over here on the right, and we don't have any categories, which can be a little disconcerting, but I can still search for holds. Sometimes it takes a moment. Maybe, let's see here.
So this is a bug that we cannot get to replicate when IT is trying to fix it for us. We can't make they can't make it replicate. As you can see there, it replicates for us. If the search doesn't work, if you go out and then go back in, it frequently, but it's like if usually as you're typing, it will start bringing them up.
Okay.
But yeah, Kylie has there you go.
So now that I've went out and back in, that problem seems to have resolved itself momentarily. But you can still search. It's we are totally aware that this is not always helpful. Just having a search with all the possible results without a way to kind of parse it or sort it or things of that nature. But just know this is there. Again, you can navigate either with the back arrows. If you go to home, as Amy said, this is where it's going to bring you. And do we have any questions about the knowledge base? One thing I do want to say is we very much appreciate your feedback on this. We do our best to collect that whenever you share it with us, and we communicate it to the powers that be to try to make this better. So please, if you do have feedback for us, for good or ill, you can also open a ticket letting us know that. And we will do our best to try to make this as easy to use and helpful for you as we can. Do we have any questions? Suppose I could look.
Yeah, there was a question in the chat about, did she hear accurate that we can't see the cataloging standards articles without an Okta account? But you answered her in your next sentence that it will sometimes ask you to log in. You can, but you should be able to view them
Right.
without. And why it's asking you to log in just in the knowledge base is there are knowledge bases that are like for state employees only, and they're for authorized access only. So when you do a search for whatever reason, then it's checking everything, and then it has to see what you actually have access to look for.
Thank you for clarifying that, Amy. I realized I didn't do that earlier.
If you get to the page, the home page here of the, yeah, if you ever get to this one, this does not require you to be logged in, but you can see there the names of some of these is an indication that this ServiceNow on the back end has many state agencies in it. The shared catalog, or not the shared catalog, the state library has geospatial. Our geoinfo side was first, so they didn't quite follow our pattern that we made up after we realized that the state library was not the only one in here. But all the state library KBs are grouped there together. So, but if you wanted to know something about livestock or those other KBs, those are available.
Do that.
Any other
Alright.
questions for Kylie?
Thank you for bearing with us, Beth. We appreciate it.
Yes. I'm going to steal the screen back from Kylie.
Yes. Or I can stop. I think.
I just have to, okay, so I think we're back to my PowerPoint, theoretically. And this, so we can put this slide up. This is just screenshots that Kylie took in case we ran into
Technical
difficulties. And so I think that is the last item on our agenda. So if there's any public comment, now would be the time. Otherwise, we are all finished. Thanks everybody for attending. We had great turnout for this meeting. We will have a recording of it that takes us a little time to get posted, and we will get those things that we mentioned, the various knowledge bases and articles and links will go out in our next few Gov deliveries as we get them finished.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
We do not.
Okay.
Deb did ask, where do these get posted? I'm assuming you mean the videos and that things of that nature. That'll be on our Montana State Library YouTube channel. I'm going to do my best to have that posted, if not today, by tomorrow or early next week, and we will share links to that in our Gov Delivery newsletter that goes out.
And I do see a question about where are we on eResource Central. We are still working with Cersei for the final parts of the new products. eResource Central, the community engagement, is that what is community engagement platform, has actually undergone some changes on their side. I think visibility, Blue Cloud visibility is maybe also not finished, but we are working through all of those with Cersei.